please welcome co-founders of the Touring Career Workshop and our hosts tonight, Chris Lyle and Eric Parker.
Awesome. 2020. Here we are at Touring Career Workshop virtual, coming to you live from MooTV's XR Studios in Nashville, Tennessee.
Heck yes. Welcome, everybody. And you know what my favorite part of coming from a virtual studio is?
What's that?
We can literally go wherever we want.
Anywhere?
Yeah, like check this out. You guys want to go to the chop shop? Let's go.
Whoa.
I think I drove that one already.
I think I want that one.
Or this, a place that I think that at this point in life I could move to. Let's go to the moon.
Whoa, I want to live on the moon.
Heck yeah, that's mine right there.
Yeah, I'll get the other one. It's good.
Or let's bring it back to the earth and let's go to the ocean side. Little rocky ocean.
Oh, I feel like a mighty bloated eagle. So peaceful. Anyways, let's go back to our virtual studios in Nashville.
Let's do it. Guys, I think we have an incredible evening planned with a bunch of speakers coming in from Zoom, a lot of information, a lot of motivation, and we cannot wait to spend the next hour with you here from Nashville, Tennessee. With that, let's give it to Chris.
2020. Wow. This is definitely not how we wanted to bring you our annual workshop, but we are very thankful to be here at MooTV's XR Studios. You know, when the pandemic first hit the live event world back in March, a lot of us were optimistic that, June or July we'll be back to work. Then, of course, June, July came and we weren't. And then we kind of got optimistic that fall would bring us back to work. Fall came and we weren't back to work. So here we are. We're all kind of wondering, when will we get back to work? Unfortunately, myself and pretty much no one that I know of can give you a firm date of when we'll be back to work. But I do have hope. I have great hope that we'll be back to work. Live events are such an important part of the financial world of not just artists and managers, but to businesses and governments and, tax income, that it's needed. But it's also about human connection. Humans want to be connected to other humans. And as much as I love the augmented reality and virtual reality and the socially distant shows that we've had over the past 9 months, it just doesn't replace human-to-human interaction that live events bring us. That gives me great hope that we will be back. Again, unfortunately, I can't put a date on that, but we are starting to see little glimmers of hope that make me think it'll be sometime, hopefully sooner rather than later. So what will things look like when we come back? That's a great question. I've heard this analogy during this pandemic that I really like about how the live event world was like a fast-moving train, and we were busy. And of course, in March, our train came to a dead stop. So as we all know, trains don't just take off and go the same speed they had been previously going. It's going to take a chug, and then 2 chugs, and 3 chugs. So for our industry, a chug might be a festival or a show, and then maybe 2 festivals or shows, and so on, so that hopefully we get back up to speed and as busy as we were before. So then the question is, what kind of landscape are we looking at when we come back? What does it look like? Well, there's going to be the physical act of walking into a venue. That's going to look a lot different, at least in the interim, and something Dennis Freeman's going to talk to us about tonight. But it's also a couple other factors. It's about people, your tour mates and people you've toured with. During this time, there's been some older roadies who might have been, edging on retirement that have decided to go ahead and retire early. And then there are some younger roadies that weren't quite sure if this was the career for them that might have opted to go ahead and do something else. So as we get back on the road, you might see some new faces, which is something we'll have to see as we start to come out of this. Budgets is another factor. I highly suspect that, at least in the immediate, as we get rolling again, budgets are going to be tighter. So that brings us to the question of what people are cut from a tour budget, what gear is cut from a tour budget. But I do suspect that, at least to catch up for all that we lost this year, we're going to have tighter budgets to work with for a while. And then lastly, there's the vendor aspect. This whole pandemic's been really hard on our vendor friends because in January and February, a lot of them spent a lot of money to put tours out on the road in March and beyond that never happened. And that's an extremely stressful thing, and we hope and pray that all of our vendor friends can make it through this as well. But again, I do have great hope that we will get through this, and I have confidence that we will because I believe in live events. Now look, the bottom line is the past 8-9 months have been very stressful, and stress takes a toll not only on us physically, but mentally. It's tough. And right now, it's very okay to not be okay. And I would encourage you that if you need someone to talk to, there are resources available, including our very own Touring Career Workshop All Access program. Never hesitate to use those. It's a great asset, and there's nothing wrong with going and talking about what's going on. So I encourage you to use that. One thing that's just always, I've always loved about our industry is how we come together to get things done. And during these past 8 to 9 months, even when our industry is probably one of the lowest points it's ever been in, we've come together to do some really, really amazing things.
That is right. Together we will win, and I firmly believe that. To start our evening tonight, I'd love to bring out Miss Joy Black. If you've ever been to a TCW before, you've seen her. She's been with us the entire time. She's a certified public accountant. And Joy, what I would love to know is, what do we need to be prepared for with the 2020 taxes, with all the relief aid and the grants that we've received?
Thanks, Eric, for having me on the panel again this year. With the big unknowns, everybody's like, well, all this money I've gotten. Well, the only one that you listed that is not taxable is the stimulus payments that everybody received. As far as all facets of unemployment payments, they are fully taxable. If you did not tell your respective state division of unemployment to withhold on your unemployment payments, you have paid nothing to the federal government towards any tax liability due. In Tennessee, if you receive funds as a self-employed person or a small business owner from both the Tennessee Business Relief Act and the Tennessee Care Supplemental Program, you will be receiving a 1099 miscellaneous from the state of Tennessee in January, February, where they have reported that income to the Internal Revenue Service as taxable to you, and you will be required to report it. The catch is, depending on what box they put those funds in, whether it's reported in box 3 under other income or it's reported in box 7 as non-employee compensation, can have a tremendous impact on your business. Parker, you mentioned the issue of grants received from different businesses and organizations. The taxability of those funds received is contingent upon the decision of that organization as how they want to handle it. If you receive a form from them, such as a 1099, then you're going to be required to report it as income. With some other things, everything is going to be dependent upon what you need addressed on your personal tax return. 2020 taxes is going to be one of those years that if you are a self-employed person, it is very important that you understand all the intricacies of how to report all these different forms of income, what I commonly refer to in my profession as anomalies, because they don't happen all the time. With the issue of PPP loans, a lot of people are like, oh, it's free money, it's been forgiven. Well, yes and no. If you got loan forgiveness from your financial institution, that's great. You don't have to pay anything back. However, the big caveat is, for every dollar of loan forgiveness you received, you cannot take expenses that were used to get loan forgiveness. So you could potentially have profit or a lower loss than you had originally anticipated. You need to take that into consideration. This is definitely one of those years that you need to start planning for your tax preparation now. Do not wait until March, April, if you get extended, August, September, October. You need to take the bulls by the horn now and be proactive, especially if you are not able to work. Get all your ducks in order and have everything ready to go once the floodgates of tax season open up.
Awesome. Joy, you had said that we need to take the bull by the horns. What is it that we need to be doing right now today? As touring professionals, what's our next step? Where do we go from here to make sure that we're prepared for our taxes in 2021?
Well, the only thing I would advise you to do today is start getting your summaries of all your income and expense sources, apart from any federal monies received, together. So you already have that information tabulated and compiled. Regarding the issuance and receipt of tax forms, wait until you get the form. The forms won't come out until the end of January. So you probably won't receive them until sometime in February. Get the forms, look them over, see what, especially with any grant money received from various places, states, organizations, see where they report the funds, whether it's in box 3 as other income, which should not be subject to self-employment taxes, or in box 7, which is non-employee compensation subject to self-employment taxes. And you have to make a personal, hard analysis of yourself. Am I capable of dealing with all the complexities and oddities that are showing up for 2020? And then if you don't feel like you're comfortable handling 2020 on your own, seek the assistance of a tax professional. And, just to make sure that you don't have a problem or unintended problem arise with the IRS down the road.
Thank you so much, Joy. Thank you for all that great information, and thank you for being a part of the Touring Career Workshop family.
Thanks, Eric. I've always considered it a privilege to participate with you all and help your industry in any way I can.
Thank you. And now we're going to hear a few great messages from our sponsors.
Welcome back. Our next speaker has been a part of every TCW since we started and has basically become our resident financial advisor. We're very glad to have Troy Von Hafen with us tonight. Troy, 2 questions for you tonight. One, since this pandemic started, we've really seen the stock market go up and down, wavering back and forth. Is that something we should be concerned about? And if so, do you have any advice for how to manage those concerns? And then the second question I had is about our emergency funds. We've always talked about the importance of having an emergency fund, a savings account. And I know a lot of people have lived off of those funds over the past, 8 to 9 months, and they're depleting. What do we need to do to start rebuilding those? Or do we even need to really be worried about rebuilding those at this point during a pandemic?
Well, thanks, Chris. It's good to see you. Good to see all you guys out there too. Let me just start by saying, hey, this has been a tough year, right? This pandemic has been really hard on a lot of people, but it's really been hard on the music industry. And I feel for you. Hang in there, though. We're going to get through this. Okay, now to the questions. Chris, let me start by addressing the second one first, which has to do with emergency funds. You know, a lot of folks have really had to dig into their emergency funds this year, and I know it's been difficult. It's felt bad too, right? Because sometimes when you dig into your emergency funds, it doesn't feel good. But it's important to make sure that you dig into your emergency funds for the right things, right? It's okay. That's why they're there. They're there for emergencies. And generally, my definition of an emergency is anything that causes you to drop a tax bracket, which means you're usually making less money. So if you're digging into your emergency fund, that's fine. You know, it's okay. That's why it's there. We just want to make sure we're doing it the right way. And what I mean by that is you want to make sure that you're using it for things that you should be using it for, right? Right now, we're in a tough time. You know, we don't need to be going out and buying a new car. You don't need to buy a dune buggy, you know, none of that stuff, right? We just need to be getting what we need to get in the essentials for life, really. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to walk around with our head down and we can't have any fun. It just means we need to do it the right way, right? So, okay. So now that we know what we should be pulling money out of our emergency funds for, let's talk about rebuilding your emergency fund. You know, right now we're in survival mode. I'm not really worried about rebuilding. Let's get through this. Let's get through the pandemic. Let's get everybody back to work, and then we'll rebuild. But for now, it's just about making sure that we're not going to dig a hole that we can't dig back out of. And that's why we have an emergency fund. So look, if you need to use your emergency fund, it's fine. But avoid, if you can, any consumer debt. You know, don't go out and, run up your credit cards for stupid stuff, right? Don't buy a car on credit, those types of things. So our emergency funds are in place for emergencies. That's what we should be using them for. Okay. We'll get to rebuilding them at a later date, maybe, but right now, don't worry about that. Just survive. Okay. All right. Now, the market. Chris, your question about the market, I've heard a little bit this year. The market slid heavily in March. It rebounded in April very strongly, and it was great to see. And it's still been moving up since then. But look, the bigger message is this: the market ebbs and flows. It's going to slide down. It's going to slide up. We have corrections. We had a big correction in 08 and 09. We saw a big correction in 2000 to 2002, and we've had many before that. The market's going to rebound. But the key is understanding risk. And I know this starts to sound a little technical speak-wise, but look, the market slides. The most important thing that you need to understand is how much risk you should be taking, okay? And what do I mean by risk? How much should you be balanced in your portfolio to the riskier side, which is equities? Understanding balance, right? What should your portfolio look like in terms of equities versus interest earning or stocks and bonds? And there's stuff that you can do to help you determine that. And if you can understand your risk profile, it'll help you to understand how much you should have at risk. And one of the things that goes along with this is time horizon. You know, if you're 64 years old and you're going to retire at age 65, that might change your risk profile. If you're 25 years old, you may have a different risk profile. But understand this: just if you're young, that doesn't mean that you just need to be extra risky. It also just needs to mean that you need to be smart. And the only way that you can take on risk, this is really important, is if you have other things in place. If you have a solid foundation, and one of those pieces of that foundation is your emergency fund, right? That then allows you to take on risk. Okay. So know your risk parameters, and that really will help you to deal with these ebbs and flows that we see in the market. Look, let me close with this though. It's important to understand that the decisions we make are not based upon what I consider the recency effect, right? Okay, so if the market is doing well, I've heard people come to me and say, "Hey, I want more risk because the market's doing well," or "Hey, the real estate market's been doing really well. I'm going to buy some rental real estate. Or my job's doing really well. I want to go out and buy that dune buggy, right? Look, past performance does not equal future results. So it's really important that you develop your financial world based upon parameters that fit you, right? Not what's going on in the current situation that's out there. It's endogenous versus exogenous, right? It's what's inside your world versus what's outside your world, right? So really, look, take a picture of your life, determine what you need, determine your risk profile. Look at your emergency fund right now. Use your emergency fund wisely. We'll get to rebuilding it later. And then look, just hang in there. We're going to be all right. We're all going to get through this together.
Wow. Thank you, Troy. We always appreciate you joining us with such great advice, and we'll keep hanging in there, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Chris.
As we know, the landscape of live events has completely changed. There's a few very COVID-conscious events that are taking place right now, but what we really need to know and what we're really intrigued by is how events are going to look when we come back in full force. Dennis Freeman is the founder and event producer for Freeman Enterprises. He has handled logistics and production for events, so many massive events. He's a contributor to the Event Safety Alliance's reopening guide for all of us. And in the last 8 months, he has dove deep into COVID compliance and risk mitigation for all of the events. Dennis, what I'd really love to know is, what does the current landscape look like? How's it going out there? How do we do this?
Thanks a lot, Eric. As Eric mentioned, I've been taking a lot of focus on risk mitigation, specifically regarding COVID. We've all done risk mitigation for the majority of our event life. It's just taken on a little bit of a twist here and a little bit more concern, obviously, for public health and safety. One of the things I wanted to mention that I've been watching real closely is rapid testing. I'm becoming more and more convinced that rapid testing is going to be one of our tickets out of this mess, and the way that we're going to get back to work sooner than later. And the things that I'm watching, there's the tests obviously are getting to the point where there is a 15-minute test available right now. It's a bit challenging to get your hands on them at the moment, especially when you're talking large quantities. So that's one of the tricks with that one at the moment. It's really challenging to get enough tests in hand to actually bring in a large crowd. There are some other interesting things that are coming along that line. Mobile testing units that actually a Sprinter van that shows up at your event and tests people on site. There's also an interesting, I was just reading yesterday, there's a new test that's being worked on. Again, it's a rapid test. It's almost like a pregnancy test where you're gonna actually, you're gonna spit on, you don't necessarily have to pee on, you spit on a piece of paper, put it inside a little piece of plastic with some chemicals in it. And within a very short amount of time, you're going to get a blue dot or a pink dot. And you simply walk to the gate with that test and scan your ticket and you're in. So interesting things, again, we're not there quite yet, but they're on the horizon. And hopefully, next spring when events start, outdoor events start coming back online, these are going to be ways that we're going to be able to do this safely. Along those lines, there are 3 different things that I've seen recently that are taking this into account. There's a promoter in Eastern Europe who they do an event called Transmit, and it's TRN. If you want to look it up, it's just the initials TRN SMT, and they have a proposal into their government officials to test this plan, to do an event with, say, 1,000 people, require them to all show up at the gate with a negative test, and confirm that this is a feasible option. So it's be interesting to watch and see what happens with them. The other 2 that I've seen make announcements along these lines are Glastonbury and Reading and Leeds. Both of the promoters of those events have said that they will do mass testing at their events next summer, and that they will go on as scheduled. One of those is in Glastonbury, I believe, is in June. Reading and Leeds is in the fall. Talk a little bit about some of the things that are viable right now. Obviously, drive-ins are a big deal, seem to be doing well. It's a tricky model, but it's obviously feasible. There's people that are pulling it off. There's some really cool ideas out there, and those seem to be working. Obviously, smaller event venues with fixed seating, where you can manage social distancing with seating, that's always an option. Of course, the challenge there is finances, getting enough people in the door to actually make a profit. And then the other thing that I've seen, and again, it's a bit of a challenge with finances, but these pods where you basically buy a pod for you and 5-6 friends and utilize those pods for social distancing. A couple of other things that are going on that are helping our worlds backstage go well, and even like some of the video shoots that I'm seeing happen right now, is it's becoming obvious that it's very important to add a COVID compliance officer to your budgets, and to put that person in charge of making sure all of these different protocols are in place. There's some other interesting technologies as far as social distancing. There's actually a lanyard that you wear. The technology or the company is called Beep, and it literally beeps when you get within 6 foot of someone. But the other cool thing about that technology is that not only does it beep, but it's also tracking. So somebody on the other end is tracking all of this information, and it basically has a spreadsheet. Employee number 2 became within 6 feet of employees number 3 and 7. So if down the line employee number 2 comes up with a positive test, it's very easy to go back and contact trace those folks that were also in within 6 feet of that person. And so really, I think at the moment it's a matter of testing. It's a matter of contact tracing, having a COVID compliance officer on site, and obviously the things that we're all trying to do anyway, the masking up, the washing your hands all the time, and social distancing.
Thank you so much, Dennis. That's amazing information. We can't wait to get back out there and get back doing what we do.
Thanks. Glad to be part of it. And everybody mask up. Let's get back to work as soon as we can.
Absolutely. Guys, we're about halfway through our evening, and we cannot wait to get back to it. But first, we have a few more words from our sponsors.
We're here in our Los Angeles warehouse with shelves and shelves full of lights, as you can see. Obviously, these are all supposed to be out on shows, now on tour, as were we all. So looking forward to better times. In the meantime, I think it's fantastic what Chris, Eric, and the whole team at Touring Career Workshop have been able to do. So congratulations to them. I hope you have a great night. I hope you're learning lots, and we'll see you soon.
MooTV has been a vital partner in allowing tonight to be possible. They've graciously invited us into this studio to be able to come live right into your world tonight. I would love to invite MooTV owner Scott Scoville to talk about how this pandemic has affected them.
2020 did not end up being the year we wished it was. It started off so good. January looked great, February looked great. Here at MooTV, we spent every dime we had accumulated last year to get ready for the biggest year yet. I sure do wish we had some of that money back. So what do you do when a huge pandemic shuts down your entire industry? Well, I'll tell you what we did here, and I think there's a lot of parallels into what you probably already did, or hopefully did. The first thing we did is we assessed our situation. What's going on? And then here's the hard part. We accepted it. You could spend a lot of time and energy fighting the idea that our industry is shut down, being angry about it, wishing people would open venues. That's not productive. And I think that we all needed to accept that what's happening is not our fault and beyond our control. And as such, we need to go ahead and be ready to accept help. We went ahead and got a PPP loan. That was only 8 weeks worth of coverage, but it was something. And so I would ask you, what help have you gotten? I hope you weren't too proud to get unemployment, to go ahead and take the offerings from Music Cares, Live Nation, the Music Health Alliance, ACM Lifting Lives. Those are all great things available to you, because this is the year where we need help, and it's not our fault. You know, another great thing you can do for yourself is Brad Paisley has a thing called The Store. He and Kimberly, his wife, started it. It's a beautiful thing. It's a grocery store for people who are food insecure. Brad has made sure that anybody from the touring industry can go there and get free groceries. The way they're operating because of COVID is you just pull up in your car, you give them proof of your ID and proof of unemployment. So that could be an unemployment slip or a note from your previous employer. And you walk out of there, drive out of there, with 2 bags of good groceries. Well, that may not feel like the sort of thing you want to do because you're a proud person, but think of it as an investment. What if you go ahead and take the groceries now because you're in a situation that is not your fault, that is beyond your control, but what if you know in your heart you're going to pay it forward in the future? So what if 2 years from now, when you've got your feet back under you because everything's going well again, in July and in December, maybe you just send $40 to the store, something to contribute to help somebody else whose turn it is for their world to be disrupted in some way that was beyond their control. I think this is something that we all should be going ahead and taking advantage of. So get the help you can. We did here. Don't be too proud to do that. The next thing we did, and I hate this word because it's so overused, but we pivoted. We thought, what can we do? We can't do live shows. What can we do in this year? Well, Garth Brooks called, and in the beginning of April, he wanted us to do a CBS special. I've never produced a CBS special. We've never done anything like that. Frightening, but we did it, and it went well, and it made us a little money. And with that, Brad Paisley said, well, if you can do that safely, Bud Light wants me to do an arena-size show next door in the steel mill. Could we do that? We pulled that off safely, a full arena-size show. No audience, but we did that. When Garth saw that happen safely, he said, well, I want to do these drive-in shows. So he did this drive-in series of shows at the steel mill also. And with that, he brought in Clare Brothers and Bandit. And we thought, well, as long as all this production's here, why don't we leave a small chunk of it behind? And we built a turnkey studio next door. That studio is not making enough money to replace 30 tours, but it's making some money, and some money's everything in this year. So what does that mean for you? Maybe on tour you made $1,000 a week, just to pick a really round number. Is there something you could be doing for yourself that, while is only $500 a week or even $250 a week, will help you get through this time? Can you be delivering Uber Eats? Could you be delivering Amazon packages? Gosh, they've got to be hiring drivers, right? It's Christmas time. Maybe you're helping your friend landscape or something. Is there something you can do, even if it makes you a little money, that helps you get through this time? And don't be afraid to do that. Don't be too proud to do those things. That's what we're doing here. Another thing we're doing here that I'm really proud of is this big, beautiful XR stage. Had a couple of really smart employees say, hey, we have all the pieces to do this pretty much. Do we want to invest just a little bit more and make this XR stage happen? And so we've invested a little bit more and built it, and it's another revenue stream. So I think when this is over, why would we stop making XR videos? They're really cool, right? Why wouldn't we keep that revenue stream? So my next question to you is, how can you come out of this virus better than you are now? We're going to come out of this with a new skill under our tool belt. Hell, we're also doing math videos upstairs. We're creating videos in a new little studio we built upstairs that teach kids math. That's something that we don't need to stop doing. That's another revenue stream that we'll keep next year, and we'll be able to employ people on like Tuesdays and Wednesdays when the tours aren't out doing those things. How can you, like us, exit this with some new skills and a better person in some way? So can you teach yourself some new software? Can you learn to edit? Can you study up on the new lighting console, sound console? Is there something you can do to make yourself better now that you have time to invest in yourself in that way? That's hopefully what we've done here. We are living in an epic time. This is a historical time, right? And so when we look back on this and we're telling our grandkids about this, probably the worst year of our lives, what will we tell them? Well, hopefully we'll tell them we accepted our situation, and then we got the help we needed to get through it. We did what we needed to get through it, including getting help from the store, Live Nation Music Cares, ACM, Music Health Alliance, unemployment. We did those things. Then we found ways to make money for ourselves and take care of ourselves, and we exited this as better people. Who, out of any industry you could think of, is better equipped to make it through something like this? If you look at the touring industry, we are the people that make it happen. We are the people that go into the venue every day, no matter what happens, rain, snow, sleet, traffic jams, technological problems. We have to make the show happen every day. We are people who make it happen. My question to you is, in this unbelievable year, in this the worst of gigs, the gig of 2020, how will you make it happen for yourself? And will you come out of this proud of who you are and how you did it, and with some new skills? And I think if you handle it right, you can do all those things. That's my wish for us here at Moo TV, and it's certainly my wish for you. Good luck, and I'll see you in a better year.
Awesome, man. Thanks again to Scott Scoville for being here for that message. I mean, that's just an incredible message he's delivered tonight. So our next guest has done an incredible pivot during these times, and if you follow him on social media, you've watched this pivot evolve from its very beginning to where he is now. But I'd love to welcome our next guest, Zito.
Hey, man.
He's become the cinnamon roll king.
I am the cinnamon man.
Yes, you definitely are, man. Just such an amazing thing. And again, I've just watched it evolve on social media. And I mean, how many rolls a week are you selling these days?
We're selling about 1,500 a week. We just crossed our 22,000th roll.
That's absolutely incredible, man. Like, I'm so proud of you. I was thinking about your pivot, and it just got me thinking with your pivot's been successful.
Yeah, man.
You've done well with this. But is this a permanent thing? Like, do you envision, is this your new career? Or will you get back to touring? Do you miss what you've done for 21 years? And what happens next?
Well, I'm super thankful to have this. Never imagined it would go where it has, from baking a few cinnamon rolls in our kitchen and selling them to our neighborhood, that we would be working and supporting ourselves full time with this. But ultimately, my passion is touring. The basis of this business started because of my passion for touring. As a production manager, I am used to being the guy to make the call to crew and saying, hey, come on board, let's go, I've got this, and we finish this tour, we go to the next tour and the next tour. And so I feel a real passion for this industry, which is what bred Rock and Roll's Nashville. And when we started, from the very beginning, we said, hey, let's support the music industry. We came up with our motto, buy a roll, save a roadie, because I wanted to give to the community that I love. I want to be able to support the crew. So we donate a portion of every roll to Music Cares, which has been really exciting. And true to our name, in more ways than we ever fathomed, we've been able to hire touring people to come help us. There's 9 different folks that have come worked in our kitchen. They're all roadies.
That's awesome.
How cool is that? So that's been really fun. But ultimately, I'm excited to go back on the road. My vision is to get back touring, to be able to make those calls to the crew. I look forward to the day I can pick up the phone and say, we're going out. I got the tour. And right now, here in November, we've already got plans for next year. I've signed on with an artist to go back on the road, and we're planning and gearing up towards that happening. And I look forward to that day. I can say to guys, not only let's do this thing, we're getting on a bus again, so that's super exciting. Ultimately, we've built Rock and Roll's Nashville to what it is. We've worked really hard on our product. People are excited about it, and we want to keep that going. So Not sure what it looks like for the future, whether we do brick and mortar or we continue going this. Maybe it's something that I'm able to employ more roadies that are looking to get off the road or part-time work. Who knows where that'll go, but it'll continue as a brand, and I'll continue being part of that business, but I'm going to be going back on the road. I know people are struggling. They've had to do what they had to do to get through this year, whether it's going to work at Home Depot or Amazon here in Nashville or whatever it may be to get through the year. But hold on. It's around the corner. A lot of great things are happening. We will be back on the road. We will be 12 people to a bus again and living in tight quarters and doing those kind of crazy hours and eating crummy catering at festivals. It's coming. Yeah, get ready for it. So maybe maybe we could find a way to get some rock and rolls, cinnamon rolls into all the venues here in Nashville or catering, or who knows.
I think all the venues everywhere need
they should. I think that's a thing. Yeah. So if you're a venue owner, come see me. Yeah. But really excited, man. Excited to be getting back on the road, and everybody should just hold on. We're there. It's going to happen soon.
Dude, I love the optimism, and I agree. And again, I love that with this pivot, you've been able to include touring people as employees. I mean, what a great thing. But additionally, the Music Cares aspect. I mean, they've been such a great resource to people, especially early on in the pandemic. People use that a lot. Like, can you share with us how much you've been able to donate to them?
We didn't know what to expect. We made the decision from the very beginning to commit to Music Cares and a donation of our rolls, and it stressed us out to actually make that in the beginning. But this is the right thing to do. We know they're doing a lot of good. And as of last week, we've already donated over $18,000 to Music Cares, and
that's incredible, man.
Yeah, man, we're stoked.
So proud of you guys, and that's what an awesome thing you're doing. And,
thank you,
man. I know you're a busy guy, and thanks for taking time out of your day to come be with us and just keep rocking and rolling.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, super excited to have our next guest. For anybody who's followed along during this pandemic, Michael Strickland, owner and founder of Bandit Lights, has been a huge advocate for our industry and getting the relief we need from Congress since this thing began. And we're so grateful to have Michael here tonight. Michael, thank you for joining us. I know you're busy. And I think my question's pretty simple tonight. Do you see a light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak? Are you seeing glimmers of hope that we'll be able to get back to doing what we love so much?
Thank you, Chris and Eric, for having me, and thank you for holding the Touring Career Workshop. It's a vital and important part of what we do. There is indeed light at the end of the tunnel. Many of you are in my 1.2 million person email chain. And if you think back, I haven't really talked about the virus much, and there's a reason for that, because the virus a couple of months ago became very political. People both sides of the aisle began to politicize what the virus was and what the virus wasn't, when there would and wouldn't be a cure. So I kind of stayed away from that until just a few days ago. And if you recall, a few days ago, Pfizer came out and announced that indeed they have a vaccine with a greater than 90% efficacy, and that the vaccine will be with us sometime in November. Something that some of you may not know is I'm on the board at the University of Tennessee Medical Center, have been for 15 years. And 3 times a day we take Zoom calls like this one and meetings, and we discuss all things COVID. So I come at this with a phenomenal medical background, not as a doctor, but as somebody that deals with it. And we've known for some time that Pfizer and Moderna and AstraZeneca all have solutions, and they should all be with us this month. The AstraZeneca may slip into December, but Moderna's already announced they're going to be dropping theirs. So once they get emergency use passed by the CDC, they can begin giving the shots. They're going to be given first to those most at risk, and then to the frontline healthcare workers, and then sometime in January, they'll begin to give them to the general population. So I hope you take that with the positivity that I do. This is not coming to you from someone with an agenda or a political slant or point of view. This is very real. And again, the politicization of many things with the virus, luckily, is behind us now, because we're all Americans. We're all working together. We all want to move forward and cure this thing. Now, at the same time, you've got 2 phenomenal therapeutics, remdesivir and Regeneron. And Regeneron is what they gave the president that made him feel like Superman. And at the UT Medical Center, we're part of some of the clinical trial phase 3. And I'm here to tell you that they are greater than 90% effective. And what has happened, and again, the media didn't tell you this because it didn't fit the narrative at the moment, but about a month ago, cases spiked nationwide and hospitalizations spiked. Well, the cases spiked and will continue to because of increased testing. People are going to the hospital for broken arms and other such things, and they're being tested for COVID, and they're found to have COVID. What we did until 4 weeks ago, when remdesivir was approved by the CDC for emergency usage, but in hospitals only, we would send you home with steroids and vitamins and antibiotics and tell you to spend 14 days quarantined. Well, once we were able to give people remdesivir, it had to be done in the hospital. So instead of sending you to a 14-day quarantine, we kept you in the hospital for 5 to 7 days and gave you remdesivir, in some cases Regeneron. And guess what? In 5 to 7 days, you walk out. Well, people opt for that option because they have the choice of 14 days quarantine or 5 to 7 days in the hospital, and they choose 5 to 7 days in the hospital because they're back at work and back at life and half the time. So that's what has created in the last 4 weeks the spike in hospitalizations. It's not that people are sicker, and in fact, greater than 90% of the people that we've hospitalized are asymptomatic. University of Tennessee Medical Center belongs to the Vanderbilt Health Network. We talk to the entire network, which is 12 hospitals across the state, and indeed we talk to hospitals nationwide. And that's what's going on nationwide is hospitalizations are up simply because we're giving people remdesivir. The death rate has continued to go down. It is an extraordinarily low moment. So the good news for us and for our industry is between the therapeutics and between the vaccines, by late January, early February, we're going to begin treating the general population, which moves us into March and April. And a large number of us will have received the vaccine. So I'm excited, and I hope that you are. This will allow us all to get back to work. We'll be in a moment where not only are we vaccinated, but for those people that do become infected, there are the therapeutics. And again, to date, greater than 85% of the people that have come down with it have been asymptomatic and didn't even know that they had it. So, you know, there's not a world in front of us unless the virus mutates and something that we don't anticipate happens, but there's not a world in front of us where we're living in a moment like we have been, where there's fear of the unknown and how do we treat it and what do we do? Quite the contrary. The treatment's there, the treatment's in place. The vaccination's there, the vaccination's in place. They also announced that it would be good for about a year, which is what the flu vaccine is good for. So I hope you're as excited as I am. We'll be getting back to work, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it is the vaccines, and it is the therapeutics that we have out there. And again, I'm super excited about that. I hope that you are. Feel free to call me. Many of you have my email or my phone number from my email chain, but I'm happy to talk to anybody. And again, I'm not just saying this for any reason other than that's what lays in front of us. And I'm coming to you from a point of view of being 15 years on the board at the UT Medical Center and working within this space. So everything's looking good. Keep your chin up. And I'll close by saying two things that I say quite a lot. First and foremost, you've always got a choice. You can choose to do nothing, or you can choose to do something. I choose to do something and continue to fight for relief from the federal government because we do still need it. And I hope that you too choose to fight for relief alongside me because there is relief coming. I believe we'll get partial relief in November and some more in the next year. And then the next thing is if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. It takes a positive attitude to move forward. And we've got to have a positive attitude. We've got to believe in ourselves. We've got to believe in the future. And we've got to continue to push forward for the relief that we need from the government. I think that they will begin doing it. And don't ever let it get you down. And just keep pushing forward. Again, thank you, Chris and Eric, for having me. And I look forward to seeing everybody as we move forward and move away from COVID.
Thank you so much for being here tonight, Michael. We know you're really busy right now.
Well, thank you, Chris. And remember, everyone, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Onward and upward. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, now we've got a few words from some of our sponsors.
As we wrap up tonight, I want to have a conversation with you about overcoming this anxiety and stress-filled mentality, this consciousness that overtakes our entire body. And for me, I don't know about you, I'm assuming the same, but I've spent so much time the last 8 months just overcoming my own mind. You know, our perception is the reality, and for me, my perception is that my entire world is collapsing. I'm unsure how I'm gonna pay my bills or my rent or for my car. You know, when we get into this space, what happens? Our entire body starts shutting down. We get less sleep. We eat worse. We drink more. We aren't able to fully understand and encapsulate everything that's happening in life because we're hyper-focused. Will you guys indulge me on something? Could we just take a step back real quick? Could we just take a quick step back? And in fact, let's go somewhere else. Let's go somewhere with trees and water. Yes, with birds singing. Sometimes we just need to take a moment, take a breath. You know, in December of 2019, I went and I got a tattoo. You got this. If you know me, you know that I'm pretty branded with you got this. At this point, people see hats all over the country and they're like, oh, you know Parker. Because this is who I am, and I firmly and truly believe it. This year has tested that more than ever, and I realized that I didn't get it for the reason that I thought last year was that I would look cool when I stood like this. I got it so every morning in 2020, I could wake up and I could look at this tattoo, and I can remember what it was about. I can remember the meaning and the definition of you got this from me. The definition is, no matter what life throws your way, you have what it takes to overcome it, and to come out on the other side bigger, better, and stronger than ever before, no matter what. You know, life is a cyclical thing. There's highs, there's lows. And I know that at some point, this moment of history is going to be just that. It's going to be a chapter of a book that we share with our grandkids, and I cannot wait to turn that page. But right now, the reminder that it is cyclical, that we will continue on. Because some days I don't know, I don't feel that. So I would look in the mirror and I would remind myself this one more time. No matter what life throws your way, you have what it takes to overcome it and to come out on the other side bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. The other thing this tattoo reminds me of is this other saying that I tell people all the time, and I got to use it on myself. It's that all things happen when they happen for a reason. And I could look back through my life and see over and over the reason that things happened, and it's all building upon who we are as a person right now. That's not to say that it's easy or it's fun or it's exciting. That's to say that there's a lesson in everything that you face in life. You know, I came up with these 4 steps that I have been doing continuously this year. These 4 steps that when I get in this manic episode, when I get in this phase in my head, I'm able to take that and do these things, and I'm able to kind of step out of it. Step number 1, we already did. Go somewhere. Get out of here. If that is go in your room and listen to music, for me that would be Lonely Island. Listen to music in your ears and close your eyes and just be present, do that. Or if that's to go on a long drive, I love drives. That's how I find my peace. That's how I get out of here. That is where I do. And I think I put more miles in my car in the last 8 months than I have in the last 4 years that I owned it. Do whatever it is for you to just take a moment and take a step back. The second step is to find gratitude. There is gratitude to find in every situation of life. And whether when you go outside, you feel the sun or the wind in your hair, or if you're out in the rain and you remember what it was like to be a little kid and you had the most fun playing in the rain puddles, whatever it is, in the smallest things, if it is the smallest things, find gratitude in those things. The third step is to sit down and write a list of your next goals. No, these aren't vision board things or huge, overwhelming accomplishments that you're trying to find, that you're trying to overcome. These are the next things that you can possibly do to step out of wherever you are right now to survive. These are things like call a friend and talk about that business idea that you've had with them or you've communicated about. Or to apply to a few jobs today. Or to start making something that you can sell to at least be able to pay your rent for your car. These are small baby steps. And then the last step in this entire thing is to take action on one of them. It's easy to get lost up in looking at a list of 4 or 5 things and saying, I can't do all this, but just do one. We're looking for momentum here. We're looking for achievement and accomplishment and feeling like we've actually done something with our life that day. It's the same reason that so many people will tell you to make your beds in the morning. Because when you make your bed, you start your day accomplishing something. Make your bed or do something from this list. Accomplish something for you. And look, this is an incredibly difficult time. It is for me. It is for so many of my friends. And we should all have a group of people around us that we can have no judgment conversations with. That we can talk about how we're feeling and be truthful and honest. And I would encourage you in this time to have those conversations. To talk about how you're feeling and how you're stressed. And to be able to relate with one another. And if you don't have those conversations or you don't want to talk to your friends about it, go find a professional. Find somebody that can help you just outline exactly how you're feeling and where to go from here. That is something that has been vital in this phase of my life for sure. And if you're having a hard time with either one of those, please reach out. I would love to at least be somebody in your corner. Somebody that understands. I can promise you this. The sun will rise again. We will be out on the road again. In this moment of history, it will end. And remember that no matter what life throws your way, you have what it takes to overcome it and to come out on the other side bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. You got this.
You do got this. And again, I love that technology's given us this amazing studio and the ability to come to you tonight and these virtual worlds. And this has been a great way to get through the past 8 to 9 months. But the reality of it is we miss our jobs. We miss being around live events and live shows. And I know we're going to get back there one day. Hang in there, and we'll see you again at Touring Career Workshop 2021.